The Police Commission to order Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, in-person or regular meeting at 7 p.m. Watertown Town Hall, Town Council Chambers. We will now convene the meeting. Roll call.
Robert McCarthy.
Richard Antonetti.
Richard Rossi.
Carmine Verno. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to amend the March 13th agenda to include the election of police commissioner officers and renumber the remaining items accordingly. This will require a vote.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstention, hearing none, motion passes unanimously. The first item underneath officers, motion and a vote to elect chairman of the commission. Do I have a
Yes, I would like to nominate Richard Antonetti for chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Robert McCarthy.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, abstention, hearing none. Next nomination is for vice chairman.
Chair, I'd like to make a nomination for David Genetti for vice chair.
That is Commissioner Verno. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Nominations will be closed. All those in favor of David Genetti for vice chairman say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, abstentions, hearing none, motion is unanimous. The next office is secretary. Do I have a nomination?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jamie Lambeau for the position of secretary.
Motion has been made for Ms. Lambeau. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstention, hearing none. Motions for the offices are carried. Next item,
You want to appoint Carmen in place of...
okay, David Genetti. Carmen, Commissioner, appoint you for David Genetti, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Let the record show that Carmine Verno is in place for David Genetti. Moving on. Public participation. Public participation. Please state your name, address. Should work.
The second button now.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place in Oakville. So on Facebook last week, there was a lot going on about a sign, a very, very large sign outside of the condominiums that are being built on Echo Lake Road. Signs, it's illegal to put signs on telephone poles, and this one was on 2 poles. It was really big. So there was a lot of talk about it. But as this was going on, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's a speed limit sign also on the pole. So the realtor sign came down, but the speed limit sign is still up there. Why would we have, and there's plenty other speed limit signs along that stretch. They're on their own pole. I don't know that if there's any real reason for that, but there has to be a good reason to do that. So you've got that sign on, which I was going to talk about. But then when I was coming here tonight, I drove past it, and then I came to the stop sign at Porter Street and Echo Lake and looked over to the side. And there on a pole, a utility pole there is a reflective, I don't know what you call it, kind of looks like a mirror so that people can see. But it's attached to a utility pole. Again, that's illegal. It's dangerous for the utility workers. There's information on that. Then, as I'm coming up to between DeLand and the entrance here, which is, what is that? Little road here. So in between those two, there's a no parking sign on a utility pole. So I mean, I just started to pay attention to this. I don't know how many of state signs or town signs are on utility poles. It seems to be something, you know, that I've never really paid attention to until this, but that is illegal, and it's dangerous for the utility workers. So I don't know what's going on. I think we need to, I don't know if it's Public Works or something, have somebody start looking at these signs, and why are they on utility poles? It's not allowed. So, you know, I don't know if they're, it would seem to me you could just put them on a pole right near the, you know, its own pole right near it. I don't know. I don't know if there's a particular reason, but it's definitely not, it's illegal, so I don't understand it. So moving on from that, I want to congratulate you, Mr. Antonetti, and your wife, because you got front page news for your complaint for the hospital. And I would understand probably the reason that, I get it, complaints are a necessary thing. They do a lot more than, you know, nobody should feel bad about that, because I'm sure your reasoning would probably be, you don't want that to happen to anybody else. It's bad enough when it happens to you, but you like to make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else. And that's what complaint processes are for. Lost my train of thought. So anyway, moving on. So I have made complaints. I made complaints to the police department back in 2012, 2013, something like that. I would never stand down. I think I was right in making those complaints, and I would hope that maybe they've made some changes, because I think that's what you try to do when you make a complaint, is you want to see changes made. You want to see attention paid to whatever it is you're complaining about. I am certain, Mr. Antonetti, that you are not anti-healthcare because of what happened to you. When I complained, it made the newspapers, you know, all looking at me like there was something wrong with me. It went so far as to have our state representative put on his Facebook page that I was anti-police. Now, I never had a conversation with him, so what would he know except I filed complaints, therefore I'm anti-police. And that's not true at all. What I'd like to say is no one ever really talked to me about it. And you know what I was going through at that time? I thought Watertown police were anti-Catherine Camera. That's how I lived my life for several years. So I just want to point out to you that I know, you know, you had to go through a complaint process or whatever. The hopes with those are, and I complain a lot, but the hope is always that somebody's going to learn something from what you're saying and how something affects you and how you feel. I'm sure that you can relate to that. You want these people to know what it felt like for you, and you don't want to see it happen to someone else. So, you know, I'm not saying it's you people here. I'm just saying the general public should start to not demonize people who complain and start to look at it as, well, there's a reason for that, and maybe we should look at that. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public? Any other public? Hearing none, we can move on with the agenda. Approval, do I have a motion for the February 14th, 2024 meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 14th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Second, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried unanimously. Correspondence, and at this point here for the Hawk Studio and road closure, I'm going to turn it over to the chief. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. The police department received correspondence from a movie film studio called Hawk Studios, putting a request in to close a small portion of Ice House Road on Sunday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, from noon until 4 p.m. From the intersection of Echo Lake Road to the intersection of Saco Drive, for the purpose of shooting film on that small section of road. It'd be some type of car scene that they'd be filming there. I don't know what the movie is or anything along that line. I did check with the town manager and all the other department heads in town. None expressed any objections to the request for any reason, but road closures do require the approval of the local traffic authority. I did forward this request to Mr. Antonetti. So I have no objection to it. They said they will be hiring a private duty police officer on each side of the road closure. It does not affect any resident getting to their homes. There's no homes on that stretch, and anybody can come in to Ice House Road from the French Street side to access their property.
I think it is appropriate to do that. I know the state of Connecticut is always working to attract movies in various parts of Connecticut. It's a beautiful state. And so I think a motion would be in order to support the action here of closure of the road on the 17th.
What was the time again, Chair? I apologize.
12 to 4.
Oh,
It was Ice House Road?
yeah, the French
Yes.
Street.
There's a very small parking area near the lake there. There's a lake, been fishing there many times. It's a good scene for the movie, I'm sure. Do I have that motion to accept?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for the proposed closure of a section of Ice House Road on March 17th from the hours of 12 noon to 4 p.m. For the purposes of a filming.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstentions, and motion is carried unanimously. Let us move on with the agenda. Number 6, 7. New business, school zone discussion. We were going to have a discussion, Chief, we were going to check into the number of incidents at the schools, any accidents, injuries. And that, I think, is an important part of our discussion. Do we need school zone signs? I believe there are none in Watertown.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I was asked by the commission last month to prepare a report for the commission on our traffic situation in the area of each of our public schools in the town of Watertown. That would involve what the current speed limits are on roads that are contiguous with the property, as well as the accident history and enforcement history in those particular areas. Those reports are included in the paperwork I just provided you. In regards to school zones, and I'm referencing page 2 of the schools zone speed and accident study report that's in front of you, according to state law, the local traffic authority can establish school zones on town-owned roads and authorize the installation of school zone fines doubled in those particular zones. However, if the local traffic authority is requesting a speed limit alteration from what is already authorized by the Department of Transportation, that request for a school zone speed limit change would have to be applied for through the state office of the State Traffic Administration. So just to recap on that, for local town-owned roads that are contiguous to school property and in the immediate vicinity of the school, the local traffic authority can establish that section of roadway to be a school zone and authorized the installation of school zone fines doubled signs. Whereas if we were conducting radar in that particular zone, we can double the fine to the violator, as long as it's clearly posted in accordance with state law. When it comes to any speed limit changes, again, that would have to be applied for through the DOT Office of the State Traffic Administration, even if it is a town road. To establish a school zone on a state-owned roadway, that requires an application to the Department of Transportation's Traffic Engineering Division, not the State Traffic Administration, but the Traffic Engineering Division. It's an entirely different branch of the Department of Transportation. It's traffic engineering that would they do their own study and determine whether or not it's appropriate to establish a school zone on that state road. If they do authorize that, and we are seeking a speed limit reduction in that school zone, that would be a separate application to the Office of the State Traffic Administration to reduce the speed or alter the actual speed limit in the vicinity of the school. Often, the state requires the installation of those flashing lights on a school zone speed limit sign, where the speed limit is only reduced during school hours when those lights are flashing. The installation of those signs runs between about $12,000 to $15,000 per school zone for a pair to be installed. So it's not necessarily a cheap enterprise. It would come at the town would have to bear the cost of that installation. So that is, in short, the basic rules and authority that the local traffic authority, this body here, would have to establish school zones. Do you have any questions about the way the law works with school zones that I might be able to answer before going into the history of each location?
Can we be safe to say that there are only 2 schools that have state highways, such as I think it probably would be Jonathan Trumbull and Polk?
In Polk, that's
Right.
correct, sir.
So they would have the state highway issue.
That is correct.
As far as the other 3, we could put up signs. Now, in those areas, I know there's a 25-mile-an-hour limit. What would that do if you just put up a school zone? Does it change anything?
So for the local traffic authority to establish an actual school zone and authorize the installation of the school zone speed doubled signs, the only thing that changes is the fine that's inside of that school zone. It doubles the fine. So if somebody was doing, say, 45 in a 25, we stop them and say the fine would have been $250. That fine becomes $500 because it was in that established school zone that was properly marked.
Any further discussion from commissioners?
Is there a time frame for school zones depending on time of day? Does school have to be in operation? 11 o'clock at night, if there's no functions going on, is there a blinking light to warn you that we're into that category now?
So on many state roads, you see those signs with the flashing lights that says school zone when blinking or when flashing. Right. And it'll say 25 or 30 miles an hour, whatever OSTA established that zone to be. And that fines would only be doubled when those lights are flashing. But if we were doing this on town roads where the roads were already authorized at 25 miles per hour, that school zone runs 24 hours a day. So anytime someone got pulled over in there at the officer's discretion, the fine can be doubled. So without having the flashing lights installed, there's no way to restrict that to a certain time of day.
I have a quick question for both of you, actually. I know you're going to go through the histories, but I was reviewing it real quickly. There hasn't seemed to be a lot of accidents or enforcement action taken over the course of the 5 years. I'm just curious. I don't have a problem with the signs being there. I think it'd be a good thing. I was, in regards to this information about the enforcement and the accidents, and also, I'm going to ask the question twice. Taking into consideration this information, and then just in general, do you, as chief and deputy chief, think they'd be useful and or needed?
So, I don't think there's a negative to creating a school zone and putting those signs up. Anything that we can do to keep our children safer, I think, is a well worth the effort. If this sign slows down some of the traffic, it could very well, prevent an accident or a child being struck. So I'm certainly not against the proposal. And I could look into whether or not it's lawful and appropriate to add to that school zone speed doubled sign with particular information such as, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 or 7 to 3 or something along that line. I've never seen that done. I would have to check with OSTA to see if that's appropriate.
Okay, so no reason why you wouldn't do it?
No reason why I wouldn't.
Okay.
Any other questions? As far as incidents of injury at these zones, did you have that, Chief?
So, for accidents?
Yes.
So that'll be on this page here that you have in front of you. Watertown High School, we have French Street. It is already posted 25 miles per hour. Over the past 5 years, we have only had 4 accidents on French Street in the vicinity of Watertown High School. All 4 of those were minor in nature and were a rear-end collision at the traffic light. 2 of those 4 occurred during school hours. Polk Primary School, on the French Street side of Polk, it is posted at 25 miles per hour, and we've had 0 crashes in 5 years. On the Buckingham Street side, that is posted at 35 miles per hour. We've had 5 crashes in 5 years there, 2 of which were during school hours. All were minor. 3 of those were, again, rear-end collisions at the traffic light at French and Buckingham. Swift Middle School on the Davis Street side, posted at 25 miles per hour. We've had 0 crashes in 5 years. On the Colonial Street side, also posted at 25 miles per hour, 0 crashes in 5 years. Judson Primary School, we have had 0 crashes on either Hamilton Avenue or Hamilton Lane in 5 years. John Trumbull Elementary School on the Buckingham Street side, that is posted at 40 miles per hour. We've had 3 crashes in 5 years. 2 of them were minor. 1 was a DUI with injuries. None of those 3 were during school hours. On the Echo Lake Road side, there have been, which is posted at 35 miles per hour, we've had 0 accidents in 5 years. So that's the accident history, so it's fairly insignificant. As far as enforcement action in those school zones, in the area of Judson, you're going to see the most enforcement in that area. Hamilton Avenue is listed as one of our rural road enforcement areas, which is funded enforcement through the Department of Transportation. So we've been focusing a lot of speed enforcement effort on Hamilton Avenue in the vicinity of Judson School. So you'll see we've issued 1 misdemeanor, 6 infractions, and 13 written warnings over the time period. Polk School, we've only had 3 written warnings for speed. Watertown High School, we've had 1 infraction and 4 written warnings. Again, remember, this enforcement action is only in the immediate vicinity of the schools. It's not the whole length of the road. John Trumbull School, 1 written warning for speed. Swift Middle School, 2 written warnings for speed. And that's over 5 years. So we haven't had a significant speeding issue directly in front of the schools.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? Any motions?
If you like, Mr. Chairman, we could have, possible action for school zone creations put on next month's agenda if the commission would like to, consider this proposal over the course of the month.
I think that would be good, Chief. I think Commissioner Genetti was very interested in the action that we would take. I think at this particular time, I am in favor of putting in some signs. I do agree with you strongly on anything we can do to increase safety. I think we should move ahead. In that thought in mind, too, I think you should check with our people who are in charge of posting signs on utility poles. And I know that was mentioned, town had done some of these things, and make sure they are removed, because it is the law that things should not be posted on utility poles. So maybe we can do two things and come back with information on it, Chief.
Yeah, in response to the utility poles, back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, it was commonplace for municipalities to put signs on utility poles as, I think it was just done as a cost-saving measure and not having to purchase their own poles and plant them. That has not been done in many, many years. The signs that you still see on utility poles, I imagine, have been there for a very long time. Public Works simply never went back around and removed them all. But any new signs that have gone up over the past couple decades have all been on their own poles, to my knowledge.
Chair, through the chair,
Yes.
would it be possible if we could just find out if it's something that, if it shouldn't be done, probably shouldn't be doing it? And if it's not a problem for the utility pole, is there a way that we can do it properly? Does the law about the signs and utility poles, that's for the department as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to plead ignorance on whether it's a law or not. I know these poles are not town property. They are owned by a utility company,
Right.
whether it's Frontier or Eversource. And it's their regulations that, no one should be placing signs on their poles. It was most important back in the day when utility workers were actually climbing the poles, because those would get in the way and can be very hazardous to the workers climbing the poles. Workers don't climb poles anymore. They're in bucket trucks. But whenever they have to replace those poles, the signs, are problematic. They're not going to, repost them, and now you could be missing a regulatory sign that's, come down with the pole, and it shouldn't be a utility company's job to put a town sign, back in place. So, all of our signs should be on our own poles.
I am not sure either. I'm not positive that there isn't, but there may be. Would it be too much to ask just to find out?
Yeah.
And if it's okay, I would like to know why it's okay. And if it's not okay, we'll just find out how we can
Yeah.
make
Oh,
it.
I know it's not okay. Towns are not supposed to put signs on utility poles. They should be on their own poles.
So it's definitely not okay.
I know the utility companies do not allow towns, municipalities, or the state to put their signs onto their poles.
Have we done it recently?
No,
No, so they.
not to my knowledge. I
the
can't speak
ones that
directly
are
from
on
Public
there-
Works, but I've never seen them. Any sign that this body here has requested has all been put on their own poles.
Okay. So the ones that are on poles improperly have been done a while ago?
I do believe so.
Okay, because it was brought up, I think that,
Yeah.
well, let's just find out,
Yeah.
how many of them, are out there, and if we could, without too much cost or disruption to the town, the DOT, see if we can rectify that.
That could be a fairly significant undertaking.
Yes, yeah?
I imagine, we're talking about decades of practice of putting signs on utility poles. I think at some point when it became clear that you can't do that anymore, towns started placing signs on their own poles, but generally did not go back and,
All right.
take every single sign off of a utility pole and put it onto their own pole. So I imagine it's probably fairly extensive. As, a member of our audience said just a short drive here.
Yes.
Noticed several, and you'll probably
Last
see that
question,
all over.
and then I'll leave the topic go. Have you ever gotten contacted by any utilities saying that the signs, I mean, it doesn't matter, they're not supposed to be there. I'm just curious, ever get called, hey, the signs is in our way, we can't do our job?
I have not, no. I have been contacted, though, saying we're replacing a pole here, and the town has a speed limit sign on it. Come and get your speed limit sign.
Right. Okay. Okay. Still not supposed to be there, but I appreciate you entertaining my questions.
No problem. I'll check into the law.
Thank you.
Let us move on to old business, and it gets to DOT, and we have that issue, Wolf Road. How, have we heard any more from the Department of Transportation?
No, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report. No new information from the DOT. I did drive out there last week, and the state has done a significant amount of tree trimming around that S-curve area.
Right.
But I haven't heard about any sign installation.
So that's still on the table, and we'll see if they do react.
Correct.
And cutting trees, I think, is also good. It does increase visibility on that area. Under Chairman's report, I do want to report to you, there was an event to congratulate a very competent and capable person. Not only to say she is a very fine lady, for 30 years of service to the police department, and again, quality service. Again, you probably have met Patricia Guerre, and you will find that she is wonderful. In working with her for agendas and setting them up, it is always a pleasure. So at this time, I'd like to offer on behalf of the commission a wholehearted congratulations to Patricia.
I will certainly pass that on. Thank you very much.
Right. The last item on the report here, Chief, it's your monthly report. We all have a copy.
I'll read my report into the minutes. As far as our staffing levels go at the police department right now, despite the difficulties many departments are having across our state and the nation, I am pleased to report that our sworn ranks are fully staffed. We're at 42. Of these 42 members, one is in the academy and will graduate on April 7th. One additional member is on maternity duty, and one member has been out on injury leave for the last month and will probably be so for at least another month. Our Youth Police Academy concluded a couple weeks ago. All attendees received their diplomas and very much enjoyed their experience. Our Adult Citizens Police Academy concludes next Tuesday, the 19th, where 14 attendees will receive their diplomas. The department is partnering with Southern Connecticut State University and our very own Sun, Moon, and Stars Autism Advocacy Group to host a mock traffic stop session at Watertown High School on Saturday, April 6th. Waterbury and Naugatuck Police Departments will be assisting and partnering with this event. The intent of the event is to allow autistic drivers and or their family members to experience what a traffic stop feels like, to help alleviate anxieties and misunderstandings for that group of people. So this Southern Connecticut State University is conducting these events all across our state, and we're very pleased to be hosting this one. The PD, actually starting this afternoon, We'll be spending an hour every Wednesday afternoon with Swift Middle School students, engaging them in various physical activities. Today was dodgeball. I did get out. It happens. So it goes, but it's a lot of fun. The deputy chief,
I watched.
she watched.
They're serious,
Yeah.
so I'm just watching, supporting.
So it's what we call cops and kids, where, you know, we have on-duty personnel, some of our command staff, our school resource officers all show up. There's usually, how many kids do you think there were there? About 40, 30,
Yeah.
30 or 40 kids?
And by the end of the session, there'll be a lot of kids. That room will be full. It won't be dodgeball every week, but they enjoy dodgeball a lot because I don't think they get to play it in regular gym. But at the end of last year's, I mean, I felt like there was 100 kids. There was a lot of kids there.
Yes, it's a whole different level of excitement when they can peg a police officer with a dodgeball, so.
Especially their SRO.
Yes, yes. Where am I? 6, the department continues to participate in numerous traffic-related grants. I think there's more grant dollars available right now than I ever remember across my career for the purpose of traffic enforcement. We're participating in 2 separate rural road speed enforcement grants right now. The driving under the influence grant, the motor vehicle crime suppression grant, the click it or ticket and distracted driving grant. So this is all money that comes in either through state or federal partners for the purpose of hiring police officers on overtime for the very specific purpose of doing speed and traffic enforcement activities. So we've had officers out almost every single day targeting specific areas. Some of the areas we target are specified in the grants, such as the Rural Roads Grant. Only certain roads in our town qualify for that speed enforcement. Other ones like DUI, we target problematic areas, usually put a 2-person car out to try and observe and apprehend persons driving under the influence during hours where it's most prevalent. Lastly, just to let the commission know, the Local Traffic Authority 101 class, which is a required workshop for local traffic authorities. They're offering another session. It's a 1.5-day class, April 30th and May 1st in South Windsor. It's at your discretion whether, as commission members, you'd like to take the class or not. The deputy chief and I both went through it, and as your liaisons, that's sufficient. But I'll continue to let you know when these classes arise. It is a good class, which really goes over the ins and outs of what the local traffic authority's role is in the community.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments? Motion is in order for
I
adjournment.
have one question, if you would, please. Chief, on the activity report, I think both for January and February of this year, one of my favorite topics is either missing or neglected here, distracted driving. That was always a topic that in the past was on this report, and for some reason.
And now it's not. I'll have to inquire with our records department why they removed it this time. I don't know. Those numbers generally pop up during our distracted driving enforcement periods. But I'll make sure we get it back on the report.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, motion is in order for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstention, motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Thank you,
Recording
Commissioner.
stopped.
How you feeling? Good?
A little bit.
I don't know why.
Woozy at times,
It's just still up and running.